Hey everybody, and welcome back. It's time. The Median XL 2.3 announcement was made. We're going to take a look at the announcement today. We've had some leaks and stuff as well, but um, I thought we'd go ahead and take a look here. Season 31, July 1st. You bet we'll be playing. Um, let's go through some of this. Attack ground for melee skills. This is huge. This is a really, really big change for melee play in general. I think it'll be really good. We're always looking for ways to modernize the gameplay without taking away the unique feel of playing Diablo. In the upcoming 2.3 patch, we are rolling the attack ground feature for the majority of melee skills. This allows you to shift-click attack, similar to range spells, without the need of name-locking a target or clicking the mouse repeatedly, which can prove painful over time. It absolutely can. There are still scenarios where you'll want the old name locking functionality, and that's still going to be possible. This new system adds on top of the previous one, leaving the decision to you. Now, you guys probably know that I play with my primary attack on right click for this exact reason, because right click will do an attack move command. This is going to be very similar to that, but you could do it on left click now with doing your shift. So it's quite nice. I think it's a really good change. The following skills are now able to attack ground. There's a lot of them here if you would like to read through them on your own. On attack events, healing and procs will only trigger if the main swing targets an enemy, whether using shift or not. Name locking can still be used when needed, like before. Several skills that triggered a buff on attack have been converted to buffs. Shadow Refuge, Conflux, Moonstrike, and Conquest. This is huge. You guys know if you watch my Assassin playthrough, I hated trying to keep Shadow Refuge up. So the fact that it's a buff now is just way nicer. There was no reason for it to be an attack. This is just like all around great changes that I'm excited for. The big thing is going to be this. Storm Amazon, the featured build of patch 2.3 brings new skills, mechanics, and streamlined hammer and thunder specs. Hammerzon is one of the characters I like to play a lot in this, but it was very weak in certain fights because your hammers would just collide with the wall and dissipate. So you'd miss out on a lot of DPS due to that. And this is going to fix a lot of that problems to make hammers more consistent, and I think that's awesome. Storm Amazon was initially conceived as a tree that could be played as a spellcaster, weapon damage, melee, and anywhere in between. Eventually, the lack of streamlining and connection between skills made the build decent at many things, but rarely great at any, with a lack of itemization further adding to the problem. The new Storm tree consists of two mutually exclusive paths, Hammer and Thunder, with a selection of passive and buff skills available to both paths. The Hammer path, Weapon Damage Specialist, can throw hammers in multiple forms and make them bounce off walls in deadly concentrated explosions at your cursor location. Neutral skills provide useful stats to both paths, and additional stats based on the specific path chosen periodically discharges nearby enemies. Thunderpath is the spellcaster spec for it. Calls deadly storms upon their enemies. New conductivity upgrade makes Storm Call deadlier than ever with a chance to proc Ascari Lightning on kill. Now, I'm going to take a look at it. I think I want to play Hammer because we actually have a couple decent... We picked up a really good couple Hammers-on pieces along the way, I think. Haven't played MXL in a little bit, but we'll have to see. But Storms On is definitely what we'll be playing this patch, this season. Early game build balance, improvements in normal playthrough for builds that felt lacking compared to other performers. Thanks to the amazing efforts of the community and testing team, we are implementing a series of suggestions to address the early issues multiple builds have until Act 3 in normal difficulty. The spike in character progress, granted by the deterministic nature of both tiered uniques and the ability to farm shards, makes it all more difficult to accomplish a difficulty curve that feels streamlined both in gameplay and number scaling. While we are brainstorming ideas to address this issue in the long term, we continue to notice that certain skills underperforming in the pre-30 level range. The next patch will feature multiple improvements at this stage for a variety of builds, with some minor density and area level improvements on the side. Yeah, so you might remember, like, the boson we played had a terrible, terrible time getting through Act 1 and Act 2. But then once we got geared up with our tiered uniques and got them up there, then it was no problem, more or less. So I think they're trying to make it so that you can play any build at the early game, instead of having to play a specific leveling spec and then change into the build you actually want. I play the build I'm going to be playing to level anyways, but if you do want to not have to put up with that crap, a lot of people just do a leveling spec and change. But endgame content: revamped quests, better dimensional lab progression, and improved drops. In addition to changes in the early game, we are also making improvements on the opposite end. This goes from revamping quests that we feel have outdated mechanics to making further improvements to the endgame farming loop, both in terms of playability and drop rates. Oh, Astroga completely reworked. Oh, thank you. Completely reworked the boss fight while keeping to the theme of the original and being lore friendly. No longer extremely punishing for melee characters. Removed one-shot debuff mechanics. Yes. Split into 2 phases. The cunning spider has one final trick when near death. The web of deceit now has a 5-minute lockout timer. Yep. Life roll on the charm is now 2 to 5 instead of 1 to 5, to compensate for increased fight duration. Cool. Dimensional lab, we haven't really done any lab. That's way end game stuff that I haven't got into, but overhauled the reward structure to make the zone more rewarding and give a better sense of progression. I was informed from people on the Discord that, like, until you got to like lab 10, like the end of lab, it wasn't really worth doing much. So this is good to see. The dimensional key charm now has a 50% chance to drop from corrupted heroes on yellow floors rather than Deimos. Interesting. There are now 4 different types of base charms as opposed to 1, each tailored to different archetypes: physical weapon, elemental weapon, caster, and summoner. Max 1 charm per character. Yep. We'll now unlock bonuses as you progress through the Rift Stones to complete several dimensional quests. Trial of Discovery. Transmute 1 of every depleted Rift Stone with the charm. Adds magic with increasing returns based on the stone tier. Rewards 75% magic find. Trial of Purity. Transmute the rare mini boss drops, star chart pieces, and dream fragments. Adds bonuses depending on charm base. EWD, innate LE, spell damage or minion damage. And the invasion. Defeat Deimos to add a bonus to your dimensional key. Deadly Strike or flat tri-LE, spell focus, max life and mana. Okay. Trial of Nephilim. Complete the above 3 quests. Unlocks the final 2 hard mode quests. Defeat Deimos with exactly 3 optional difficulty modifiers. Reward unlocks the Occult Effigy upgrade recipe. Transmute 2 identical effigies to receive a higher tier. Unlimited uses. Dimensional Alchemy. Defeat Deimos with exactly 5 optional difficulty modifiers. Unlocks the Relic crafting recipe. Transmute a depleted Riftstone 10 to receive a random relic, 5 charges. Whoa, that's cool. That's actually a good change. I like that. And more. This, as usual, is not the full list of changes coming in the next patch, so you can expect to see the full list of changes with the release of the patch notes. You can visit our Discord, etc. Yeah. Some endgame reworks. I love to see Astroga reworked. You guys know I hate that boss. It's awful. The early game rebalancing is great. Storm's getting a revamp. That's awesome. Big change for melee builds, so that's cool. I wonder if Thundercrack will still be the single target for the EWD version of the build, the Hammer Path, or if it's going to be completely Hammer of Zeray. I guess we'll have to wait until the patch notes come out. I'll do a video talking about going over the entire patch notes as well. That'll be a lot longer of a video and that'll be closer to the actual release of the season. But I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, consider subscribing. I'll catch you all for the next one. Take care.